I'm Nick Boy and welcome to Pocket News for Monday the 5th of December. Today on the show, Sony kills it with PSX and Kojima's worlds collide. That hurt way more than I thought it would. Oh, so brittle. Alright, here's what's been making headlines, and the PlayStation Experience happened over the weekend. It's basically a mini E3 just for Sony. They smashed out a bunch of announcements and showed off some really cool stuff. Here's what you missed, because I know you didn't watch it, because you're in Microsoft's pocket. First up was Naughty Dog. Sony's golden child started the show off with one of the sneakiest reveals of the day. It began with a slow pan down to the streets of a North African or Middle Eastern town, the streets marred by civil war and rebel coup. As it was the first footage of the whole show, people were sitting there going, what is this delightfully tense looking action game? Just with, more American accents. Maybe there were some Frenchies there. Probably. At the end of a thrilling 8-minute demo, Chloe Fraser ripped off her hood to reveal, this is the Uncharted expansion, you fools! I have this. Not only the fact that it was presented as a surprise, but the whole gameplay. The war-torn setting of this mission, at least. The visual storytelling and leading, which is just the classy game design we expect from Naughty Dog. The fact that the story will focus on two strong, already developed characters in the Uncharted lore with Chloe and Nadine Ross, and most importantly, the fact we're not going anywhere near Nathan and Elena. I hope. Just let them retire in peace. They had all that money. You can't afford 2 houses at the beach unless you're really, just swimming in doubloons you stole. This is apparently the biggest expansion that Naughty Dog has ever developed, and as a result, on top of it being a downloadable expansion, it will also be available as a standalone purchase when it releases next year. A good way to start the show, but the dogs weren't done! They capped off the whole event with a darker reveal, officially unveiling The Last of Us Part 2. And I don't think I've ever flipped so hard on wanting a game to exist. After that perfect ending to The Last of Us, I was desperate for them to just leave the narrative there and let it play on in our hearts and minds forever. I didn't want to be told what happened next until I saw this trailer. Now all I want is to be told what happens next. Ellie's become a stone cold killer and one hell of a guitar player, hunting down and murdering the Fireflies for what they did to her. It looks like Joel is just being taken along for the ride this time. They're gonna have to kill one of those two characters. You know it's gonna happen at some point. But Naughty Dog are so good at subverting expectations, I'm sure they have something up their sleeves. Maybe they swallow a firefly and that's how they both die. That'd be poetic. Shit, did I just ruin the game? To wrap up Naughty Dog's involvement in the show, we got our first look at the remaster of their original creation, Crash Bandicoot. The Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy packages the 3 seminal action platformers together with an impressive new look, and it's out next year. Ooga booga, little dude. Ooga booga. Also, Death Stranding got itself an impressive little engine. We were given another short look at Kojima's obscure new universe at the Video Game Awards, which was confirmed to be running in real time on the PS4 Pro. It was absurd and cool, had a little horror, and a lot of Del Toro. Classic Kojima, basically. And my big question at the end of that trailer was, what is the game gonna look like and play like when we eventually get our filthy, disgusting, grubby little hands on it? Well, we have a better idea now, because at PSX, it was revealed that Kojima Productions has teamed up with Guerrilla Games for the project, and they'll be using the Decima engine, the same used for Horizon Zero Dawn and Killzone. Kojima was unable to bring any tech with him from Konami, and he'd been shopping around Sony's major engines for a while until he landed, or settled, for Decima. Marvel vs. Capcom 4 is real, but it's not called that because Marvel vs. Capcom 4 is Real is a terrible title for a Marvel vs. Capcom game. Ryu and Iron Man will clash once more in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, because Infinite is the word of the year. It has been 5 years since the last entry was released, and fans of watching the Hulk and Blanca get all up in each other's faces were desperate for some higher resolution action. According to the PlayStation blog, the game will include, quote, single-player arcade, training, and mission modes. A visually stunning and immersive cinematic story mode will put players at the center of both universes as they battle for supremacy against powerful forces and a new villain. All of the good things, but here's a bad thing, Knack is back. For some reason. The launch title was basically a bland tech demo for the PS4, and based on the trailer for the sequel, not a lot has changed, except for the fact that other games have done everything better since launch, and there's no need for a dumb, particle-popping, physics-based action platformer with no personality. Oh my god, I think I hate Knack! Coupled with the slick new beats from 2003's Move Your Feet by Junior Senior, the game shows just how out of touch and irrelevant it really is. You, Knack, and there was a whole lot more to the show, so I'm just gonna power through it. Yakuza Kiwami and Yakuza 6 will be coming to Western audiences in 2017 and 18 respectively. Kiwami is a remake of the original, and 6 is sure to be as weird as the rest of the series. Speaking of series, Nier's first sequel, Automata, has been given a release date of March 7th, 2017, with a demo to be released soon. Speaking of demos, a final Resident Evil 7 demo update is live now on the PlayStation Store. It's one last mini pant-pooping experience before the major pooping affair happens next year. Speaking of things which are currently live on the PlayStation Store, Suda51's Let It Die is there, and it's free for all. Speaking of free for alls, you'll be beating up your siblings for a chance to play older PlayStation games which are being ported across to the PS4. These include Parappa the Rapper, Loco Roco, and Patapon, which makes me wet myself. And speaking of wetting myself in a nervous way now, Studio Ghibli is not involved in the Ni no Kuni sequel, which is launching next year. I'm out of ways to tie things together, so we're just gonna leave it there, but I will say Nax Machina also looks sexy as shit. Sony did a really great job of putting their best foot forward, showing off impressive big and smaller titles. Excellent work, Sony. It's almost enough to make John buy a PS4, right, John?
No.
It's thing of the day.
Thing of the day.
Data miners of Kojima's latest works have made worlds collide, harvesting PT's character models of Norman Reedus, Lisa the Undead Mother, and of course, the Fetus. These modders were able to make Metal Gear Solid 5 even weirder. At least Quiet is finally wearing some clothes. Alright, that is it for Pocket News today. My Pocketeers, and today we start the Pocket Team Choice Awards for Thing of the Day entry. So we get to pick our top 10 entries over the course of the year. Z-Screen was there with number 10. We've had a huge amount of entries this year, but Z-Screen, you really nailed the musical brief. Short, sweet, to the point, very talented. I look forward to seeing the rest of them because they just get weirder from here. Speaking of weird, this afternoon on the Pocket YouTube channel, I go through all the weird games that are coming out this week. Are you one of the weird games that's coming out this week? Then join the Pocketeers Facebook group and Steam group. There are links to everything I just said in the description below. As mentioned before, today's Thing of the Day graphic was made by Z-Screen. If you made a thing, please send it in. But you're not gonna be on for the next couple of weeks, because you were too late. This is the best of the best, the showdown. Until we next December, my Pocketeers, Nick, bye out. Mwah. Sunday, Z-Screen.
What?
I would be a terrible announcer unless Z-Screen was at a boxing match on a Sunday. I was going for like the wrestling, like showdown, Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. It's Z-Screen versus 9 other people. Sunday. The vignettes work wonderfully as well. Great pacing, lots of variety as they highlight the scope of the war without it feeling like one soldier changed everything. Except for that bird. That bird's a goddamn hero. That bird deserves a library named after it.